Welcome to USC Ideas and Actions, the official University of Southern California podcast. Shows are webcast live on Facebook from Studio 1A in the USC Annenberg School for Communication and Journalism.
Greetings, everyone. This is the season where there's a lot of stress and anxiety on campus that's really brought on because of finals and the stress of ending one's college career. But it doesn't have to be that way. There are tremendous and extraordinary resources, opportunities, programs on campus to help students as they go through this time. And so I'm really grateful to all of you for tuning in, and I'm very grateful to Emily for being here to have a conversation about what students can do to de-stress during finals.
That's good. So Varun, your position in the Office of Campus Wellness is a new entity. Can you explain what is the function on this campus?
So this year we started this new office, the Office of Campus Wellness and Crisis Intervention. And the part that deals with wellness is really looking at culture. So what we realize is that we all have a shared responsibility to create a culture where students thrive, where they flourish, where they're connected with each other, where they have a sense of meaning and purpose and significance, where they can fully be human in a way that makes sense for them. And that's what this office is really looking at. It's looking at how do we change the culture? How do we do things for all students so that we are cultivating emotional intelligence on our campus? We're cultivating healthy relationships, etc. One of the ways we've done that is by launching Mindful USC, which is now the largest mindfulness initiative in American higher education. This year we trained 1,500 students, faculty, and staff on mindfulness practices. And much of that is focused on stress and anxiety and how to find a sense of calm in the midst of the storm. So I do encourage students to check out Mindful USC. There are opportunities to take classes, mindful.usc.edu. We have online classes that students can take. We have an app, a Mindful USC app, with guided meditations. And I think that having a simple mindfulness or breathing practice, even if it's 90 seconds, can really help calm one's nerves and clear one's head before one goes into finals. Mm-hmm. So we're really trying to think about upstream culture change, and mindfulness is one way where people can be empowered to be present and engaged in their everyday living.
And residential education has been one of the collaborators to
try
to test out bringing mindfulness into the residential colleges. So thank you.
Well, thank you. I mean, it's been such an exciting year for you. You opened the University Village, one of the highlights of really our university's history. Given that we're moving into a residential college model, and given that the University Village just opened, what types of programs do you run in residential life through residential education to help students with finals, especially at this time, at the end of the year?
So it's a good question. And I think we do not just the programs during finals, but throughout the whole year. It's important to help students find outlets to relieve stress. So specifically throughout the year, we've partnered with our Office of Wellness and Health Promotion, and we've had Professor Bo come into the residential colleges for office hours.
And who's Professor Bo?
Professor Bo is the wellness dog, the first wellness dog in the nation.
That's right. And he has tenure and I don't, so I'm a little jealous
there
of that.
You go.
That causes me some stress.
There you go. Well, maybe he could come visit you in his office.
I'm going to need to see Bo.
So, but outside of that, we do a lot of our late night events that help foster community, but some of our most popular events have been our art nights, where students come together and just build community through art, through painting, through drawing, through potting plants, and cactus succulent planting is very popular for some reason. But for finals week, we have RAs that build final care kits for their residents and hand them out to each of their residents. We have some areas that do Primal Scream events.
Primal Scream.
Primal Scream. So the purpose of Primal Scream is to get together during study nights. It's a very short window, because I will highlight that it is 24-hour quiet hours in all of our residential communities starting tomorrow at 5 p.m. But this allows students to come get a snack and relieve some energy in a short burst and then go back to studying. But we also have our faculty and residents that participate. And sometimes they do grab and go events with coffee and pastries in the lobbies of the residential colleges and residential halls. So it's just been really fun to see this community of care start to come together. And with the USC Village, we've had new opportunities to create traditions. So we just had vacay at the Village, which focused on relaxation, meditation, yoga. There was aromatherapy with oils.
Wow.
They passed out face masks. Like, it was
truly
truly focusing on how to unplug and just relax. And I think that's so important for our student culture right now.
It's amazing.
So, with your dual roles at the university that includes running the Office of Religious Life, what are your issues you are seeing for students in your interactions with them now?
Well, I think one of the challenges we have on our university campus is that sometimes students feel disconnected or alienated or lonely. I think with the rise of social media, students are accustomed to having 1,000 friends online, but they come to a university, and what does it mean to have 5 or 10 friends in real life, who have your back? And so what we know is that absent a sense of connection, we don't really feel human. We're social beings, we have tribal identities, we need to be in community to understand who we are. We understand ourselves by seeing ourselves through the eyes of others. So that connection is one of the most important, if not the most important thing that a student can cultivate during their time on campus. So in the Office of Religious Life, I have been concerned by the rise of students who are coming to me saying that, there may be 45,000 students here, but I still feel lonely. And so, like you are doing in residential life, we're trying to do things that build community within religious life. We just started a laughing group, laughing yoga every Wednesday at the University Religious Center at 12. You can show up and just laugh with people.
That sounds like fun.
Yeah. We started a drum circle every month. We're training people to lead drum circles. We do drum circles on full moons and new moons. We have a weekly community tea. Today is our last one of the year, Thursday at 3 p.m. at the University Religious Center, where you can play ping pong, you can have tea, you can eat donuts, you can color. So all of these activities that get us out of our day-to-day sort of stresses, get us out of our own head, out of our own ego, out of our own way of looking at the world, allow us to be in community with each other. And that's an extraordinary support network, period, but especially, I think, during times of stress or during challenging times like finals are, quite frankly, for many students. And speaking of this, this work of building community, we know that the best resource for students are other students, no matter what they're facing. How do you see students supporting each other during stressful times at the university, especially within the context of residential life?
Through a variety of ways. I think during midterms and finals, it's not uncommon to see every study lounge in the residential colleges or our campus apartments being utilized, where students don't want to necessarily study by themselves. They want to study with a group of people, even if it's in complete silence, just for that camaraderie. In the age of social media, I think, as you're mentioning, that community is so vital. And I've seen students start to break away a little bit from social media and really be there to support each other during stressful times. And it's not uncommon for a friend to walk another friend to student counseling services to say, hey, why don't we go to happy hour in Engelman? Let's go do this yoga class together. And that's not just coming from the RAs to the residents. It's student to student. And it's wonderful to see. And I think as the communities and expand with the network of students within the residential colleges, I also want to highlight that we house about 1,700 graduate students on campus, and community in our graduate housing looks different. We also have students with families, so you see those students coming together for dinner, creating play dates for the children that live on campus, because not many people know we do have children who live on campus. So stress manifests itself from our graduate students through our first-year students, our transfers to international students. And it's nice to see students sitting together in the dining halls. I do love the McCarthy dining hall at the USC Village because it forces people to sit together in the long family-style tables, and that sense of community where you're not alone and someone could just sit right next to you over a meal and strike up a conversation is so important for that element of support. And that's what these communities lend themselves to.
That's right. That's right. We saw that with the Good Karma Cafe, which is Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday at the United University Church. We set it up as a vegetarian cafe for students, especially students who are vegetarian by religious obligation. But what we found is it was an extraordinary way just to build community. People sitting next to people they would not otherwise sit next to, developing relationships they might not otherwise have developed. And that's what it means to be part of a Trojan family.
And so speaking of the Trojan family, what do you see as the future of campus wellness for Trojans?
Well, like I said, I think wellness is a shared responsibility. We all have to look after each other and ourselves. That's what it means to be a family. We love each other. We might not always like each other, but we love each other. And so what I've been doing, which has been a real joy, is I've been working very closely with the undergraduate student government to develop a first-year course that would be a sort of immersion experience course for all first-year students. And USG really took the lead and have put together an inspiring vision for this course. But really it's going to focus on the kinds of skills that we think students need to thrive in life, but they might not be getting inside of a classroom context. Skills like emotional intelligence, how to develop healthy relationships, nutrition, sleep, issues of consent and public safety. We'll talk about diversity, inclusion, equity, concerns and challenges and opportunities. So many of the things that we find are part and parcel of university life that we just kind of throw students into. There's not really an opportunity to reflect upon how to translate that into one's daily life. What does success mean? What is the value of money in one's life? How does one think about one's career? All those big questions that students should be thinking deeply about in college. This class will give us an opportunity to really showcase what we're doing on campus. So I'm really excited about that because I think that's how you change the culture. If we can get first-year students in a common experience talking about wellness, emotional intelligence, lifestyle redesign, stress reduction, etc., then as students go through their university experience, they'll have the tools to be proactive in terms of cultivating a healthy lifestyle, thriving and flourishing personally, and then ultimately professionally.
I think that's excellent as we move towards a year-round wellness plan, where it's not just during midterms or finals. It's for move in through move out if you live in USC housing, or if you don't.
Yeah.
Whenever you're here taking classes, we are also focusing on that sense of balance and wellness.
That's right. What changes have you seen over the years with students in terms of how they deal with stress and how they approach finals?
I think what's helpful for us as administrators is I've seen a change where we have students speaking out for their friends more often now. Whether they're utilizing Trojans Care for Trojans or their resident assistant or even some of their professors, they will talk to us if they're concerned about a friend. And this has been happening more frequently over the years, and I actually find that is a good thing because that allows us to step in and hopefully get that student some assistance and some support. That also goes to some of the programs that we do in residential education, where it's not just the RA knocking on doors to get students to an event, but it's fellow residents saying, hey, we should go downstairs because they have puppies on the lawn today. Let's go relieve stress by petting puppies. Or let's go to this paint night. Or, hey, did you sign up to go to the Dodger game with the hall? Because I want to go. So they're encouraging each other to actually leave their rooms and interact with the broader community. And I think that's really important and really unique. And I think that's where we get to utilize social media and the connection that's happening on social media and bridge that virtual connection to a real connection.
That's great. That's it's really operationalizing this idea that we are a family, we care for each other, we need to look after one another. It's a shared responsibility.
Yes.
Beautiful.
So beyond school, as we prepare students for their lives after school, how do you see us preparing them for being Trojans for life and handling what life throws at them?
I'm not concerned about our students' academic performance. We have the best students in the world here. They're extraordinary in their critical thinking, in their analysis, in their artistic expression, in their athletic achievement. So I'm less concerned about that. What I have found, though, is that the people who really flourish and thrive professionally and personally have a type of emotional intelligence that isn't always focused on during one's college years. I always come back to the Grant study. The Grant study is a famous study. It's the longest longitudinal study of human development in history. And what the Grant study did was follow 200 undergraduates over 75 years of their life. So when they graduated, basically for the rest of their life. And the goal of the study was to find out what actually leads to human happiness, what actually leads to flourishing, what actually leads to a sense of accomplishment at the end of one's life. When you're looking back upon your life, what are the things that you focus on in terms of feeling good about, in terms of what you've accomplished? And interestingly, it's not salary, it's not status, it's not grades, it's not degrees, it's not institution that you graduated from. Actually, the number one thing that made people feel like they lived a life worth living, that they lived a life that was extraordinary, that they lived a life of their dreams, the number one factor was how deep were your loving relationships. Period. Happiness is love, full stop. That's what the lead researcher said. So I know that in the middle of finals, there's a lot of stress about getting everything right, that if I get the right grades and I get the right degree and I have the right this and that, then I can get the right job and the right spouse and the right house and the right this, and then I'll have the right life. I don't think that's true, and I don't think the data supports that. So I think even as students are feeling stressed during finals, they should also understand that actually what will give them meaning and purpose and significance and authenticity in their life is how deep are their loving relationships? How brave are they? How courageous are they? Do they cultivate gratitude and joy in their life? Do they see their life as a blessing as opposed to a burden? Those kinds of skills, the so-called soft skills, I think are actually the skills that make us flourish, make us thrive, give us a sense of purpose, meaning, and fulfillment in our life, give us a sense of abundance in our life. So my hope is that even as students feel stressed, and we all feel stressed when we've all gone through finals, that's I think a natural reaction, to also have a perspective to realize this is not make or break, this is not defining your life or who you are, that actually there are much bigger adventures out there than that happen between one's ears, that are the internal adventure of sort of understanding who you are. And those skills are, I think, even more important than one's grades or degree.
And you highlight some of the main purpose of why we do what we do. And in residential education, it's all about sense of belonging.
That's right.
And helping students make those connections that are so vital to the success here.
Yeah. I hope that as students go through this next 2 weeks, they take some time for themselves, for self-care, to do the things they love, to dance, to write, to listen to music, to run, to exercise, to travel, to do the things that give them a sense of peace in the midst of the storm. And for seniors who are graduating, I will say this. It's important to obviously end strong academically, but what seniors are going to miss more than anything else is a sense of friendship. And so these last 2 weeks are really an important time to cultivate, celebrate the relationships that you've had on campus. I see this during commencement, the full range of human emotion. In the morning, everyone's super excited to graduate. In the evening, everyone's really sad to leave their friends. It kind of just sneaks up on you. What you will remember most from your undergraduate year isn't what happened inside the classroom, but what happens outside the classroom, especially in terms of your friendships. The friends here will be your peers, your business partners, your colleagues. So be a little selfish this next 2 weeks and celebrate your social relationships, your loving relationships. Tell people how you feel before you leave campus.
I think you talk about how to get through with balance and making sure you create the space to both study and celebrate. We also want to highlight the importance of sleep.
Yes.
We did get a question from Facebook regarding the importance of sleep, and I think people need sleep, period.
That's right.
And you need to be able to balance the sleeping with the studying and the eating, especially eating healthy food during
and
stressful times. And the hydration,
yes.
drinking a lot of water.
Yes.
And I think we've seen a competitive culture, where students are almost proud when they pull all-nighters, and that's not necessarily should be a thing of pride. Students do need to find that time to recharge. Where we charge our cell phones every night, we need to charge our bodies every night through sleep.
That's good. Yeah, and I think students sometimes pull all-nighters because they think there'll be better outcomes on their exams, but the data shows us that's not true, actually. That you're not being selfish if you sleep. You're actually, you have a strategic advantage if you're well rested when you go into a finals.
And I think if you learn to prioritize sleep, you'll be more successful in life. I've always been asked the question, I just finished my dissertation in October. Emily, how are you working full-time? And being a full-time student, sleep. I need my sleep, and that's how I've been able to function.
And I think that really gets into issues when we feel overwhelmed by our workload. I think all of us feel like we're never there. We're constantly behind. We have 100 emails that we have to answer. We have 1,000 to-do things to do on our list, etc. That doesn't change, though, I feel like, in one's life. We lead busy lives. We'll always lead busy lives. What changes is our perception of that. So, yes, we all have heavy workloads, and yes, that gets exacerbated during finals time. But I think if you're planning out your schedule with the proper kind of time management, if you understand the next 2 weeks are finite, like one way or another, finals will be done in 2 weeks. So even if you study a lot, it's going to be done one way or the other. I'm Dean of Religious Life, so I can say this. I think I'm Hindu, and there's a really one of the important Hindu texts is the Bhagavad Gita. And one of the lessons I learned in college from the Gita that helped me during finals was this idea that focus on the work, but don't be attached to the fruits of that work. We're focused on the grade, but let's focus on the work. If we put our best effort in on the work, that's it. Whatever happens, happens, but we'll find if we're focused on the work, the fruits will come, but the work is what's important, because the work doesn't end. We'll continue to work throughout our lives, and that's where we find meaning and purpose in the process.
And if students are feeling overwhelmed at this point, with the workload and the studying, I would say talk to your faculty members or academic advisors about balance. If you live within residential education and USC housing, talk to your RAs. We have wonderful professional staff, the residential college coordinators, who'd be more than willing to sit down with students to help them make a list of what they need to do and how to accomplish that. It's all about prioritization.
And students should know they're not alone. If they feel overwhelmed, they should know other students are feeling overwhelmed. If they're feeling stressed, they should know other students are feeling stressed. I think students feel in some ways they're all alone because they're seeing the best version of other people's lives online and comparing it to what they're going through, but no one is alone during these 2 weeks. Everyone is sort of feeling the same thing.
So, Varun, I think there's a good question for you about a student feeling so busy right now. How should they incorporate mindfulness?
That's right.
Download the app.
Well, I would say 90 seconds of deep breaths in and out the nose, just, and what you should focus on during the breathing is really to just watch your thoughts, watch your emotions, but not be attached to them. So I always use the analogy that your mind is the sky and your thoughts are clouds. The clouds pass through the sky, but they are not the sky. Your thoughts pass through your head, but they're not you. We get caught up in judging everything. This is good, this is bad, this is right, this is wrong. And that brings us happiness or sadness, anxiety or stress. But for 90 seconds as you're breathing, don't judge. Just watch your thoughts arise and slowly just try and let them go. Watch them arise and slowly let them go. And if you do that for 90 seconds, you will feel calmer at the end of it. Thoughts will arise. Don't get frustrated when they arise. Just watch them and let them go. And it's liberating not to grab the thought and swing from branch to branch wherever the thought might take you.
Taking that time to slow down and breathe is so essential.
No.
And I've actually seen it work for me. This Fitbit is probably about 4 months old, and when I realize I'm stressed out, I could physically see my heart rate lower if I take time to breathe and just sit.
That's right.
It works.
Well, the cool thing is that we have the science to support what spirituality has told us all along, which is that, focusing on your internal life, taking moments of reflection and contemplation, cultivating an internal sense of gratitude and joy are all things that lead to better health outcomes, actually. They're not just spiritual practices, they're health-based practices, because we know that stress causes inflammation and inflammation causes disease. So if we de-stress, we're actually healthier because of it. I think we're running sort of out of time here. I wanted to ask you if you have other final thoughts for students as they come through the next 2 weeks, things that they might do, or ways that they might learn more about all the extraordinary work you're doing in residential education.
So I would just tell students right now to not let this next 2 weeks overwhelm you, to take moments of the day to pause, to practice breathing, to write down the things you need to do to help you prioritize so it doesn't become an insurmountable task, but also take those breaks to spend some time with friends at the same time, study in the residential college lounges. Move Out is on May 9th. That's right around the corner.
No.
So it's a balance of making sure you're studying and making those times for that last minute connections.
That's right.
I would say this year, if you're wondering what time your primal screams are at, I hope you've downloaded the Residential Experience app. You could download that on iTunes or the Google Play Store, and it's a brand new app that we've been utilizing. But that's where they could find out what time the primal screams are at, where the events are located in their residential communities or residential colleges, and attend. Grab that snack. Give yourself 10 minutes to connect with another person before you go back behind your computer or go back to studying for that exam.
That's great advice. That's great advice.
We have a question coming in right now.
Okay. This is a question from the parent. If my child needs help, what should I do? Well, it depends on what type of help that student needs. But the good news is we've built a one-stop shop for all manners of crisis and support and advocacy. So if you contact the Office of Crisis Intervention, contact Lynette Merriman or Michelle Morgan, they will make sure to facilitate all the resources of the university to support the student no matter what that student is going through. It could be academic, emotional, psychological, it could be a roommate situation, whatever. That's a one-shop stop. If you go in there, we'll make sure we get it to the right folks. So please just reach out to Lynette or Michelle or even myself, and we'll make sure that we support the student.
And I would say similar if a student lives in any of the residential colleges or residential communities, talk to the RA or the residential college coordinator. They are full-time professional staff members who live in the buildings and supervise the RAs, so they are there not just for the RAs, but for all of the students as well. So if a student needs just that connection point, the student themselves can talk to the RCC, and the RCC knows all the resources as well.
That's right.
And we work in tandem with USC Support and Advocacy.
And you mentioned this, and I'll just revisit it. We do also have a resource, Trojans Care for Trojans.
Yes.
For those of you who don't know about Trojans Care for Trojans, you can anonymously call or go online and report someone who you think might need help. This is not a punitive resource. This is a resource to help people no matter what they're going through. If we get a Trojans Care for Trojans query, we will follow up directly with that person. It could be student, faculty, or staff. So if you think someone might need help but you're not sure how to navigate that, please utilize Trojans Care for Trojans, and we'll make sure we support the student however that student might need help.
So when is the next
laughing group?
Yeah.
The laughing groups are Wednesday at noon at the University Religious Center. I think we had our last one, unfortunately, because it's the end of the year, but we'll start it up again in the fall. Morley Nair, who's a professor at the School of Social Work, leads the laughing group, and I'm sure he'll be happy if anyone wanted to reach out and just meet with him for laughing techniques. The laughing group is really based on an idea of laughing yoga, which comes out of India. And in India, there are these laughing groups that get together, like a Tai Chi group might, to laugh together. And what we find is you fake it until you make it, right? You start the fake laugh, and then suddenly you've got the real laugh. And we know laughing has health benefits and releases endorphins, etc. So we started one laughing group, but it'd be awesome to have pop-up groups.
I'm imagining that any RA that might be watching or future RA
Yes.
will be, this is a fantastic program that I want to try to do in fall.
Hit up Professor Nair at the School of Social Work, and let's see if we can't plant the seeds of multiple laughing groups around campus.
That would be wonderful.
That'd be great. So I'm really grateful to you, Dr. Emily Sandoval, for joining me today for this really, I think, important conversation, impactful conversation. I'm really grateful to everyone in our audience who's watching. Thank you for joining us today. If you have any questions, feel free to follow up directly with Emily or myself. Until next time, from Studio A at the beautiful USC Annenberg School, take care of yourselves, good luck during finals, and fight on.
Fight on.
Thanks for listening. Subscribe to our podcast and follow us on Facebook.